All right, what is going on today, chat? Trev, what up, my brother? What's going on, man? Hope things are good as always. So welcome in, just getting everything set up here. Apple, welcome. Right on time, right on schedule. Currently surviving a windstorm, so that's been fun. The universe never wants me to stream chat. I don't know why, but the universe just doesn't want me to do it. But we're here. We're doing it. We're going to defy the laws of nature. So we have to... So this one's going to be a pretty long one today. Last week, I had a ton of... yeah, this one is probably going to be... Because last week, the grade review got interrupted several times by really bad internet issues. So I have to make up for those who I missed on Wednesday. So after that, probably going to be talking about some upcoming events, upcoming news, some new stuff, some giveaway announcements, all that fun stuff. I'll probably kind of trickle through, but we have the maximum grade review today of 20. So I have a PSA sub of 26 cars I'm dropping off at a PSA event on Saturday. Nice. What steps should you take before grading? Well, you just got in here just in the nick of time. So what I'm about to do is I'm actually going to be reviewing this person's card for a grade review. So everything that I'm about to talk about is exactly what you should be looking for before you send your card outs to get graded. So I guess without further ado, we're just going to get into it. So for those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Galaxy Gaming, and every Wednesday I do what's called grade review. So what that is I review community members' cards that they've submitted in our Discord for free. And what we do is each week I review each card and I give my professional opinion on what I think they would get as a PSA grade. I don't work for PSA or anything like that, but I've been keeping track of my data, my submission accuracy since 2017, and all the lessons learned ultimately kind of gets condensed into what you're about to see today. So first up, we have Mike, who is actually a subscriber. So we tend to start with subscribers first. So Mike has priority grade review to start. And first, we are going to look at this Japanese Rocket Mewtwo with an incredible swirl placement by the hand, by the way. That's really nice. So everything that I'm about to go over are things that you should also go over on your own. So the first thing that we're going to look at, so there's 4 main grading criteria that we're going to be looking at today, which is going to be center, corners, edges, and surface. So all 4 of those subgrades ultimately get tallied up and averaged across all 4, which results in your overall grade. So the first thing we're going to do that I'm actually going to highlight for this Mewtwo is the centering. So first, I'm just going to take a quick screenshot of this to have a good way for us to look at the centering. So how that's done. So I pop up the ruler. So first, we're going to look at the left side. And this is what you're going to have to do if you really want to measure centering. So on the left, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 marks on the left. And then on the right side, we have 1, 2, 3. So on the front ratio should be 55-45. So if we do 4 divided by 7, so we're at 57 currently. So roughly 57-43 ratio. So it's thicker on the left side than it is going to be on the right. So it's outside of that 10 contender mark. So this wouldn't get the 10 just to start with the centering alone. So it's a little bit thicker on the left than it is on the right if we're looking at that 55-45 ratio that they've updated. So let's look at the corners now. So the corners, from what I can tell using this magnifier tool, the top right corner looks pretty good. Top left corner looks good. Edges look good. So the corners are fine. The edges are fine. And even the hollow, I mentioned this last week. So yeah, so anywhere between 55-45 and 50-50 are the centering qualifications for the front of the card. So this card on the left, I mean, roughly, I used a ruler from the snipping tool. So obviously measure your cards in person to have more accuracy. But based off what we're seeing, it's 57-43, which is just shy of that 10 contention. But yes, you are correct. So the hollow on this one, I mentioned this last time with the Japanese, is really clean. There's really nothing for me to even talk about on the surface of this card. And on the back, the back looks really clean too. Nothing notable on the corners. I'm not really seeing much on that top right. I think that little bit of whitening is just on the back of the, like, this mat that the card is on to take the picture of. The top edge looks good. Top left corner looks good. Left edge looks good. All the corners honestly look really, really sharp. And the other thing that I notice on Japanese cards, especially on the back, there's normally a lot of surface issues on the back. And this one doesn't appear to have any, which is really good. Yes, Mike. Yep. Nebula, thank you for the follow. Are certain marks weighted compared to others? So all 4 are. So that's centering, corners, edges, and surface. And so just for context, if we hit over 20 concurrent viewers, I will unlock chat grade. So if you guys are liking what you're seeing, if you want to help support me in the channel and get that chat grade unlocked, please feel free to share and like the live. Because once we hit over 20 concurrent viewers, I will let chat grade as well as myself. So gives more. We are doing a grade review, Nebula. So right now I'm looking at this community member. It's actually Mike, who's currently in chat right now. Say hi, Mike. And this Rockets Mewtwo, literally the only thing wrong with it is just the centering on the left side. I see no scratches, no surface issues. Corners look flawless. The edges look good. So I'd probably say that this would most likely get the 9. I think there's a really good 9 call, because even the back is pretty well centered. I think it would be the same thing. You see it on this left side. It translates a little bit over on the right side as well, but the back is way more lenient than the front. But the corners and edges are really clean. So I think this has a really good shot at a 9. Really, really strong. And again, especially with that really cool swirl by the arm there. I think that's super dope. All right, so next up, what is this? The Noivern, right? If I'm getting that right. Probably butchering that name, but I think it's the Noivern, right? From XY. Okay, let's see. Japanese texturing, man, is so good. It's so much better compared to the English, in my opinion. So with Modern, we really try to look for centering and corners as really the primary candidates. With Modern, those are really the only 2 things that I traditionally see wrong with cards. And as a result, with Modern, we're really kind of make or breaking 10s. So if anything kind of goes away from it being a potential 10, in most cases it's not worth grading if you're looking for kind of like a return on your investment. So we have to kind of keep that in mind. But for right now, the centering on this, the left and the right, top and bottom, really good. Corners look great. The surface, I mean, looks fantastic. Not too worried about that. Let's see. All corners look great. Centering looks good. Edges look great. Again, I'll probably say this for all of them. There is a little bit of a curve. PSA tends to not factor that in because it's just a very, very light kind of bend because of humidity or whatever. But I always recommend just flattening it out just to not give them any wiggle room on giving them a 10 or a 9. But I think that this card, legitimately, I think it has a really good contender at being a 10. It's very well centered. Corners look flawless. Just flatten it out a little bit just to not give PSA anything to dock you for, and go from there. Any new cards you picked up from last week or on the website? So I picked up some, Nico. We actually just did a PSA. It was probably almost 3 hours. Apple was a pro and stuck with me the entire time, so I appreciate that, Apple. We did a PSA return reveal on Monday. So we had over 70 cards. It was 71 cards total that we looked at. So more graded stuff. But I haven't had a chance to add, like I said, I just got those in. I haven't had any time to list them quite yet, but they will be updated. And I will say, before I move on with the Sylveon EX, I will be doing a claim sale most likely on Saturday because I have a show on the 16th. So once it hits Sunday, so March 9th, I'm going to temporarily close the store down online because I don't want to accidentally sell something and bring it to the show or vice versa. So Saturday is basically going to be the last chance for you guys to claim stuff before I close down the shop, and then reopen it once the show's over. So how do I send in my cards for you to take a look at? Yeah, so real quick, if you guys are curious on how to submit your cards for a free grade review, all you have to do is go into my link in bio to my link tree. Once you're here at my link tree, you just click or tap that Discord icon. Next, you're just going to want to go to the Grade Review channel and make sure to look at the pinned messages on how to submit your cards properly. So you can see, for example, Mike does a really good job here. It's a black background, so I can see potential whitening. It's not in a sleeve. It's not in a top loader, so I know, if it's a scratch, I know it's on the card and not on the top loader or a sleeve. I will say that it is, although it is free, it is first come, first serve, with a limit of 5 cards reviewed per person per stream. You can submit as many as you want, but only 5 for that week will be reviewed. However, if you want a priority grade review like what Mike is doing right now, is the Discord server does offer a subscription starting at $4.99 a month. And so in addition to having priority grade review each week, there's actually a monthly giveaway that starts, and there's one currently active now for subscribers to the Discord, which you win one of our mystery boxes. So that ends in about 2 weeks. So if that interests you, that option is there as well. All right, moving on with the Sylveon EX. Should I wipe clean before submitting? Depending on what you mean by cleaning, in my link tree here, I have these card cleaning, this Espeon recommended. I would highly recommend you watch that. It gives a really good overview on what you should do in terms of after you've assessed it and kind of prepping your card. So I definitely recommend watching that. So the Sylveon is very well centered. Corners look great. Again, beautiful card. The quality control for Japanese is just so much better than English, in my opinion. Pretty well centered. The only thing that I would be fearful of, Mike, that I just saw immediately, but you should be able to, and that's a nice thing too, guys. If you guys are going to have your cards get graded, it always helps that if you're in the stream, I can quickly ask questions like this bottom right corner, from my perspective, has a little bit of whitening on that bottom right corner. So if that's there, then that's pretty noticeable, and that might get you the 9. Okay, so that's just lighting. So this bottom right, so Mike, who submitted this card, is confirming that is just lighting and not whitening. A little bit of a tongue twister there, but I don't see anything wrong with the back of the surface or anything like that. It looks extremely well centered. Corners look crisp. Again, I think you have another good shot at a 10 on this Sylveon for sure. So far you're making out like a bandit. The Rockets Mewtwo assessed as a 9. The Noivern V assessed as a 10. That one is assessed as a 10. So far I think you're doing really good. Carrie and Kevy, thank you for following, and I appreciate you guys. If anyone that is liked, shared, or followed the live so far, it really does mean a lot. Helps push out this style of content. At the end of the day, I want to try to educate you guys as the community on what to look for grading plays. For example, if you go to a card show or a local game store and you want to try to find out what cards you can pick up to potentially grade yourself and get 10s, this is pretty much why I do this. So to kind of help everyone out, educate as much as I can. So definitely appreciate the likes and shares and follows. So let's see. Can I send you my cards to appraise? So if you're talking about grading, because I don't, there is a Discord subscription tier that does more appraisals, both doing the grade review and helping you out on what I think they would cost. But for grade review, you can just go to the Discord, which is in the link in my link tree. But you can definitely go ahead and do that too. That's what I thought I meant, Tim, or thought you meant. All right, another Sylveon V. Actually just sold this not too long ago. Centering looks great. The English variant, not the Japanese. Centering looks great. Corners look great. I mean, surface looks really good. No issues there. Centering, again, corners look good. Centering looks good. Yeah, surface looks great, man. I mean, you're making my job, to be quite honest with you, Mike, you're making my job pretty easy. A lot of these cards are looking really good. I would say probably check whatever that is, but my gut says that that's more of just like a reflection based off of the texturing of the card on that right side, just because of how the light is reflecting. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing standing out. Yeah, that's why I figured it was light. Is that from base set? No. This is from what, chat? Is it Brilliant Stars, or I can't remember. But yeah, all of them are Hunter. But in this one, as long as we can kind of flatten them out, PSA really won't dock you too much. I forgot where I read that, but these are pretty easy. They're almost like if you left them out of a binder for too long. You just simply flatten them out and it should just go away naturally. It's nothing I'm ever really worried about, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, I mean, if you can flatten that out, again, another 10 contender. Ooh, big boy. The first Ed. So the other thing that's actually worth noting, chat, just in case if you don't know. So one thing I like to look for with the first edition Shadowless stuff is whether or not it has the gray stamp or not. So when people talk about gray stamps, it traditionally just means that there wasn't enough ink when they pressed on the first edition symbol. So it just looks more faint, is really what people refer to as the gray stamp variant. So always kind of look out for that. The gray stamp variant is more sought after from like more of the niche collecting than the standard stamp. So always just kind of keep your eyes out. I appreciate that time. Thank you so much. Clone, thank you for the follow. Number 2772. All right, so let's take a look at this Bulbasaur. So it looks well centered to me. Carter, when I'm done with this Bulbasaur, I'll definitely let you know how you can submit cards for sure. Unless one of the moderators wants to help me out. Time, thank you for the follow. Corners look good. Top right looks good. Top left looks good. Bottom left looks good. Bottom right looks good. Clone, I like your content? The question mark threw me off. I appreciate the kind words. What do you mean by centered? I never really knew what this means. Yeah, Justin, let's go over right now. I think it's still, because it's a first edition Shadowless Bulbasaur, so I think it's worthy of kind of doing a second look. So when we talk about centering, here's what we're really looking for. So the first thing that you want to look for is the yellow border, right? So see where it meets the yellow border to the green texture, so like right here. So the first thing we're going to do, and again, I have to kind of exaggerate this, right? Because I'm on a computer and obviously do this in person with a more accurate ruler. So for example, I'm going to put this edge here right on this inch marker. And so just for simplicity, I'm just going to count them not by like 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch. I'm just going to call them by like dashes, right? So starting from here, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dashes. So 5 dashes to the left, or 5 dashes in thickness. And then on the right, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, like 4.75 to 5, right? So next, so let's just call it, because this is going to be within the range, we'll just call it 5. So you add the value on the left side, so that was 5, and then you add the value on the left, which was also 5, so you have 10 in this case. So divide the left side by the total, you have 0.5. And then you do the same thing, right? But since they're both 5, they're going to be the same. So in this example, this card from left to right is 50-50 ratio. So it's as center as you can get it. So versus like, so let's say, for example, it was two dashes on the left and 5 dashes on the right. So you do 2 divided by 7. So 2 plus 5 is 7. So it'd be roughly 29, like, so 0.29. Right, so if we did, so the other side would be 71. So the ratio would be 71-29, which would be way outside of what would be considered in the 10 subcategory for centering. So so hopefully I explained that well. I kind of had to speak loosely. That's the best way I could explain it, but that's how you measure the centering. But the centering on this Bulbasaur is really good. So the centering is a manufacturer's fault? Yes, Justin. For centering, we as collectors really have no impact on centering whatsoever, unless you physically, cut the side of the card, but then you're removing it. In which case you would never have it get graded, because then they would consider it altered, because you as the collector physically altered the card by cutting it. But yeah, the centering is one of the few things that can dock you points that you have no impact on whatsoever. So it's all how it gets cut during the process, the manufacturing process. Anytime, Justin. So the surface on this front card looks pretty good, I would say. So here are some things that I like to talk about when I ever talk about cleaning. So when I talk about cleaning cards, this is always something you want to kind of look at before you ever submit. So for example, and I'm actually going to take my pen tool here to kind of help you guys see a little bit easier on what I'm talking about. So, and make sure that's not on my monitor. So this, for example, right here. So I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's a little dot right in the center of where I'm circling, and I'll even kind of zoom in a little bit more. So that right there where the tip of my mouse is, so that at first glance looks to be a bit of dirt. So for example, if we left this on and we submitted this to PSA would possibly see this and say, whoa, that's going to dock you from your surface subgrade. So we're gonna start to lose our potential high PSA grade because we left dirt on there to remove. So if we remove this, we give PSA less things to look at to dock us from a surface score. We also have a few here on this left edge from what I can tell. So I'll just circle them first and I'll zoom in. So we have one here, one here. But again, I don't know, and this is what I really emphasize. If you guys are always kind of look at this stuff to clean. And so if you are going, so if this does end up being some dirt or grime or anything like that stuck onto the card, what I use, because I saw some few people asking in chat, what I personally use is either like a microfiber cloth if it's something that you can just easily wipe off, or if you need a little bit of moisture introduced, always use distilled water. Don't use like isopropyl. I personally don't. I always just use distilled water and a Q-tip. And then make sure the Q-tip, isn't drowning in distilled water, but enough to, I'd say for 5% humidity is what the Q-tip should be. And as long as you're very careful, again, I always recommend if you're going to do that, do it on cards you don't care about. You just kind of slowly work some of that off to ultimately get rid of that dirt or grime. And that is not considered alteration because you would be using something that you're removing something already added onto the card. You're not using things like card wax or chemicals or pen to add to the card, which is considered alteration. Because the example I give before I go on to the back, the example I give is if you put a thumbprint on the front of the card, anyone with a logical brain would say, oh, well, I'm just going to wipe off the thumbprint. That's okay, right? It's not considered alteration if you accidentally put a thumbprint on the card and you decide to wipe it off. No, it's not a dumb question, Vincent. Not a lot of people really heard of distilled water, nor do they ever really use it. So distilled water in most practical uses are used for if you went to like a CVS or a Walgreens or like the pharmacy section of like a Target or a Walmart, people use them for things like CPAP machines, so sleeping machines that filters the air, for example, or uses water that can't have minerals in it. So if you just use tap water will have natural minerals in the water, like from your pipes or from however the water was conditioned. Sometimes it's softened. So all those little bits of minerals and deposits would ultimately get left behind on your card as streaks or something like that, versus distilled water as just distilled water. Like there's no minerals, there's nothing in it other than just water. But yeah, normally that's where you kind of see it is more in like the pharmacy section, because they're meant for medical devices. And in most day-to-day cases, distilled water is mostly used for, or like if you had like a humidifier, using distilled water in a humidifier is also good. Stuff like that. Yep. Okay. So the front of the card, we noted a few bits of dirt and grime and whatever that we could probably take care of. But now it's really the back, chat. The back is really where we need to start to really weigh in on what this card could potentially get. So starting with the top right corner. So the top right corner, my guess is that this is probably a little bit of lighting, maybe a little bit of whitening. So it's probably a combination of the two. So as we kind of go counterclockwise here, so we have one bit of whitening here. So first I'm going to highlight, just so you guys can see real quick, how much whitening I'm actually seeing, and then I'll kind of go over a little bit closer. So starting from the top, we have one here, some in this section, a little bit here, and then pretty much all in this left side in general is pretty much whitened the entire way down. A little bit here, a little bit on that left corner, possibly here, and then boom there, and then boom there. So first, that's what I've kind of noted, and I'll take a closer look with the microscope or the magnifying glass here. So as we kind of zoom in a little bit, so all this whitening, guys, is going to take away from both the corner subgrade and the edge subgrade. So we really gotta stay focused here on what our ultimate score is going to be with these being deducted. Is there a small white speck on a card? Does that automatically disqualify a card from a 10? It just really depends. So if it's something that you can remove, you're good. If it's like a pack ding, your odds of it getting a 10 are very slim. That Shaman EX I posted on Discord graded got a 10. I sold it. Dude, that's sick, Skipper. That was the one that you like bought for like $3, right? was that the one? Like, oh, I got it at a garage sale for like $3. That's crazy. Congratulations, man. That's sick. Okay. So perfect. So we just hit the threshold for chat grade. So I think this is good. So what this means, chat, and I think this is a good timing for it. So if you guys want to vote on what you personally think that this Bulbasaur First Edge Shadowless from base set would get as a PSA grade, type in !grade followed by the number you think this card would get. Again, that's !grade followed by the number you think this Bulbasaur would get as a PSA grade. So the back is, I'm going to leave it more on the back because that's where most of the damage is. If anyone needs to have me flip it over, I will. So what's going to happen is after you guys vote, and again, voting by entering !grade followed by the number, whether you're watching me on YouTube or TikTok, the winning vote after about a minute, the winning vote is going to be the chat grade. And then once you guys are done, I'm going to add what I think this card would get. So at the end of it, Mike is going to have both the chat grade and my grade to have a better idea on what this card possibly could get as a PSA grade. So again, that's !grade followed by the number if you want to vote on what you think this First Edge Shadowless Bulbasaur would get. I'm going to leave it on the back. I'll leave the poll running for another probably about 30 seconds or so if you want to vote. So while you're doing that, I'm going to catch up with chat real quick. Snorlax, thank you for the follow. User, thank you for the follow. Hale Carter, thank you for the follow. And I got caught up there. Beautiful. Just sent a lot of 10 Pokemon promos to AGS. Try them out. Nice. Nice. Baker, thank you for the follow. Appreciate you guys. I'll leave the poll running for another 30 seconds. Again, if you want to vote on what you think this first edition Bulbasaur would get, type in !grade followed by the number. Whether you're watching me on YouTube or TikTok, I'm also watching over on YouTube as well. If you guys want to chat and have a different experience there, have a little larger screen, have a webcam going on over there. So it all depends on what viewing experience you guys want. PSA value, if all 10s around 1.5 or AGS prop around 900. Yeah, so I'd say ROI as of now until the market changes is going to be PSA if you're looking for my opinion on kind of like an ROI return. But that's just my opinion. All right, so let's close this bad boy up. So we got... So it looks like the winning grade is going to be a 6. So I'll just jot that down real quick. Actually, I'll just jot it down here just so I don't forget. So chat is a 6. So let us take a look. So like I said before, we'll start off with the front. So the front looks good in terms of centering and corners. So the corners look good. The centering looks great. Even the edges look good. Now, as we start to look at the surface, I noted a few things. So we have some bits of dirt, what appears to be dirt, by this left edge as well as the bottom and near the weakness. So if we can get rid of that, then the surface subgrade will be protected. However, if that is left on there or we can't do anything about it, then that will have an impact on the overall surface of the grade, or the surface subgrade rather. So as we flipping it over, this is where we're starting to get into that realm of near mint to light play category, in my opinion. So right off the bat, with just the amount of whitening on this left edge, we're already out of that PSA 8 to or higher contention. So we're already kind of in that 7 to 6 range. So again, we have whitening on what appears to be the top right, top left, and the bottom left. Doesn't look like there is any notable on the bottom right. However, all 4 edges have a degree of whitening on them. So normally, how I tend to lean, if there was like one edge that had a little bit more whitening than the other, I would say, okay, we're already in that like 7 range. But since I don't see any major creases or bends or folds or anything like that, it's really just light whitening on 3 out of the 4 corners, and then whitening on significant whitening on the left and right, and then moderate on the top, with this one being more notable and very minimal on the bottom. I would probably lean more towards this card being in a light play condition. And for those of you who are new here, normally when I refer to something as being light play, I tend to reference that as a PSA 6. Because for me, I would never feel comfortable enough, just from the amount of whitening that is present on the card. I wouldn't be comfortable listing this as a near mint card. So in that case, I would probably list this as well as a 6. So that's kind of where I'm hitting this from. It's more on the back. It's kind of what's dragging you down the most, in my opinion. And it looks like chat's opinion too. So chat, you guys are thinking 6, just as my little official stamp here. So chat, you guys were thinking 6, and I also agree that I think this card would get a 6 as well. Let's see. My friend was sending a lot to them, so I want to try the 9 per card since it's Joker. Thank you for the follow. Yeah, I mean, I think you'd, unless there's something else with like I said, if there's like some bend or crease or whatever that we couldn't see. I hear you, Refuel. I have a there was one card that I jokingly still have. It was a Dusclops EX that got a 7. And it has a big old crease down the middle of it. Oh, you're good, Apple. No worries. I think you definitely put in your work on Monday, so you're definitely good, man. Definitely good. So Mike, thank you so much as always, my friend, for not only being a Discord subscriber, but also for your submission. I think you have some really good, I think you had what, 1, 2, 3 potential 10 contenders, which is huge. So congrats on that. That's amazing. And so next we have a new subscriber, Jaden. So Jaden, if you are here, thank you for this submission. And this one is going to go crazy. He submitted a ton of cards. A little bit of thigh there. So we got to zoom in, make sure we're not seeing any bits. Let's see. Jeez. Well, what can you do, I guess? I mean, congratulations for your buddy on getting a 10, but and again, if you guys are wondering how to submit these cards, I saw a few people asking. All you have to do if you're watching me on YouTube is just in the description. If you're watching me on TikTok, it's in my profile link. From there, you're just going to find the Linktree link. It'll redirect you to here. All you have to do then is click or tap the Discord icon. It'll then redirect you to the Discord. If you're doing it on mobile, just make sure you have the mobile app, because otherwise it might act as though it's not working. So once you're in the Discord, there's a grade review channel. that you submit your cards in there. Make sure to review the pinned messages in that channel on how to properly submit your cards. If they don't follow the rules, unfortunately, I have to pass on them because it's too difficult for me to assess a card. For example, if it's in a sleeve or a top loader, I can't give an accurate assessment if it's like that. So just follow the rules and you're totally good. It's completely free. You can submit as many cards as you want in that channel. However, it is first come, first serve with a minimum of 5 cards reviewed per person per stream. So for example, if you've submitted 20 cards, by the time I get to you, I'll review only 5 of those 20, and then I'll kind of review the 10, 15, and 20 until you're done. However, if you want priority grade review, like what Mike is taking advantage of, as well as Jaden, the Discord server does offer a subscription starting at $4.99 a month, in which you get not only priority grade review, but also some other really good benefits. We actually are having our monthly sub giveaway, which is active right now. We have 2 weeks left, and the winner of that will receive one of our mystery boxes valued at around 50 USD. So all that just goes right back into supporting the stream and making it more entertaining and more user-friendly, and try to do all that fun stuff. So yeah, that is my really long-winded way of doing it. Can I send a Galaxy? No, unfortunately, with like how TikTok works, most of the like gifts that I would get, they kind of determine like the percentage of what I get. And so if they determine like, oh, your viewers were low, I really won't even get much of it. I'm not saying that I am ungrateful for what you're offering. I really do appreciate it. But more so, I determine the queue about a half an hour to an hour before the stream starts. So the queue is currently closed. But I would say a Galaxy is probably more than if you were to just do a subscription on Discord, and then you have priority for the entire month. But that I wouldn't be able to look at until next week. So there's kind of pros and cons to that. But the queue is closed today. So I'd probably recommend legitimately the Discord subscription would probably be your best bet. All right, Jaden, let us look at the Mewtwo GX. So first, the centering is looking pretty good. The only thing I actually want to check is that right side looks a tad thick, but I think we're probably in the range of it being okay. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ticks on the left, or on the right rather. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4.5. Yeah, so we should be good. From the right to left, that should be fine. Do you buy cards by chance from your Discord member? Yes, I do, Skipper. Yep. If you want to just DM me, if you're on Discord already, just DM me, and I'll touch base with you if you're interested in selling anything. Yep, I buy, sell, trade, I do all that fun stuff. So the top and bottom looks pretty good too. The surface, from what I can tell from this picture, looks okay. Not too much that I can see from this angle, so we should be good there. Now, one thing I will say with this Mewtwo GX specifically is that you guys may or may not see this kind of like white spattering across the card on the top left and the bottom right. This is actually a pretty consistent and known error for this Mewtwo GX. For whatever reason, there was like a issue with the print quality or what with this like weird spray pattern. So in this instance, we are going to waive that as being a deduction in the surface, because every single one that I've seen, and even graded copies that have like 9s or 10s, will have that like almost spray-like pattern on those two sides of that corner. So so just keep that in mind. If you see that, it's not yeah, that's what I was kind of talking about, Robert. So since it's so consistent across all these copies, it's kind of omitted as being like a potential deduction in surface grade, or in the surface subgrade. So the top right corner looking good, top left corner looking good, bottom left corner looking good, bottom right, a little bit of whitening on that bottom right corner, but I think it should be good. Do you take percentage like PSA does for more expensive card? What do you mean, Nick? Percentage? Like in terms of like the subgrade monetary value, like what do you mean? But aside from that, aside from the white spray, looks pretty good. Surface looks great. I'd probably say if we were to upcharge, care about the what for upcharge. I'm not too sure about that either. Let's see. Corners look good. Surface looks good. Yeah, so it all depends on the declared value. So the higher the declared value goes, the higher of a tier that you'd have to submit. So like so like the example that you're giving, right? Like let's say the card, like the Moonbryon, you know, I always assess it at its raw price. So like let's say Moonbryon is what, like 1,500 right now, or 1,000? I can't remember. I don't even really look at it often. So let's say it's like 1,000. So you'd have to look at a submission that is that declared value would fall under. But I'd say with this one, it's really well centered. What possibly a little bit of whitening on that bottom right corner, but I think you might even be within the range of it being waved, to be honest, because I really don't see. But it might be a fold as well. A little bit of that darkened shadow on that bottom right corner. But again, omitting the common defect on this Mewtwo GX, it's well established. It's a very, very common defect that's kind of just waved. This is a pretty good contender, unless there's something with the surface that we can't see from this angle, like by the darker areas of this Mewtwo. It looks very well centered from the 55-45 restrictions. I think it should be good. I would probably submit this. You probably get anywhere between a 9 and a 10, unless there's something with the surface that we can't see from this kind of 2D plane. But I would definitely submit it if I were you. Yeah, anytime, Nick. Thank you for being patient with me. Okay, so this one is definitely off center. So if you guys have never seen, so let's even look at this, for example. So for centering on this bad boy, let's measure it, because this one's a really good example. So if we look at the left side, awesome card. I'm super stoked to look at it. So on the left side, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6.5 on the left. And we got, if I can put it right on the line. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4.5. So 6.5 on the left, 4.5 on the right. So 6.5 divided by 11. So it's roughly 59.41. So 55.45 is the absolute maximum it can be before you're kind of out of that 10 contention. So right now, I would say to ease of conversation, it's currently at 60-40, meaning that it's definitely left heavy compared to the right. So that's obviously going to have a big factor in this Shining Gyarados. So as we look on the top as well, we'll have to kind of take a little bit of a better look on the back, because it does look like these kind of like little bits of kind of shine, these little whitened specks here, leads me to believe that that is most likely a ding or a dent on that top part. So we might have to flip it over and look at it. Magikarp, thank you for the follow and the likes. Appreciate you. How can I send you a card for review? Because I got Lost Origins Tina, and I don't know if I want to grade it. Yeah, when I'm done with Jaden's submission, so we have the Dark Gyarados, the Primal Groudon, the Mega Charizard, and the Rockets Moltres. Just remind me, and I will make sure to go over how to do it. So additionally, we have some edgeware on this left side, so you can kind of see a little bit more of that shine that I was talking about on the top as well, being present on that right side. So right now the centering is a big issue, and potentially this whitening on the edges. But with this angle, and if you ever have, just as a, I guess, another tip, if you are going to take pictures and submit them in the Discord, this would be a good example of having different angles of this one card, because right now it's actually kind of tough for me to really tell if there's like print lines or scratches, because this area specifically for the Shining Gyarados is prone to having scratches because there's so much hollow, right? So it's really difficult for me to determine if there are scratches there. Considering Ruin a 10, yes, it can, Nick. We actually just measured this left side based off of our measurements is roughly 60-40. So 55-45 is, once it's outside of that, it's no longer considered 10 for the centering subgrade. So yes, it can. So the front, and you kind of see that translate to the back, and that right side is really, you know, it is much thicker on the right than it is on the left. So, but it's weirdly enough, the top right corner looks good, top left corner looks good. There is some whitening on this left edge. So we're kind of in that like 8 to 7 range. Once I'm done with this submission, with Jaden, Dub, I'll definitely let you know, because Magikarp also asked. Let's see. So the left edge, a little bit of whitening there, a little bit of whitening on that bottom. Do you recommend PSA grading? I guess it depends on what your desired outcome is. For return on investment or ROI, I think PSA for sure, until the market decides otherwise. But yeah, it's really, the centering is really kicking it. Let's see. So I would say, you know, it's really just this whitening on the top and this left edge that's kind of and especially like how off center it is. I'm really leaning more towards an 8 to a 7, probably leaning more towards a 7 than an 8, because it is extremely off center on that back side as well as the front. Obviously 60-40 on the front, but the whitening on the, like, as long as this here is true, because you can see that silver edge on that left side as well as the top, which I'm believing is the case, because you can see some of it translate on the back, more so in this section and on the top. So I'd probably say a 7 for this one, just because of that, because my guess too is that there's probably some scratches possibly in here, but it's more the centering and the whitening that's leaning more towards the 7 than an 8 for that one. Let's see. How much does it cost to grade per card for PSA? Depends on how much the card is, to be honest. Thinking of going through GameStop to get my Bubble and Pika SIR graded. What's your opinion on advice on that? So I would say that you probably will get an upcharge, because, you know what, let's just look real quick. 1 second. So what is that? GameStop grading service. So card grading service. So let's see. So maximum, it's actually gone up since I've looked at this last. So for trading, because this used to be 15. So to grade an individual card, let's see. So if your card is worth more than $200, you will be charged an additional fee. You definitely will be charged an additional fee if you grade either of those two cards, both the Bubble and the Pikachu. So if you're uncomfortable with submitting on your own, and it's just a few singles, I would say go with this route, but they will upcharge you, but I don't know how much more. Because both of those cards are well above 200. I heard it's only if it's below 5. I mean, I guess that makes sense, because some of the because the value for non-subscribers for PSA is 25 per card, so that matches the PSA price. Yeah, I would say if it's your first submission and you're kind of like want to just know the experience, I would say that GameStop is a really good starting point, I think. But just don't be shocked if you do get upcharged, because that declared value is so much lower. So just kind of mentally prepare that you're not screwing you over. It's just built into that if it's more meant for, like, you know, you're opening up a pack and you got like a cool SIR or something that's like worth like $80 raw, and you want to submit it. Like, that's kind of like the golden example of why I really think GameStop's good. But Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Dubs. So that's why I'm kind of saying, like, you know, just be aware that you might hit that. Okay, Primal Groudon. A lot going on here. First I'm gonna check the centering. I mean, I would say if you're feeling uncomfortable about the grading process, I would say go with GameStop. However, it's really not difficult. There are a slew of resources on how to submit cards for grading, like how to do it. Even PSA, for example, has a step-by-step guide. Hold on, let me just make sure you can trust them. Yeah, that's a good point. I think the yeah, that makes sense, Mike. That makes sense. Because again, the value, yeah, so if you get upcharged, it's really just because of this. So the value is $24.99, so the max value is 500, and you don't need, so you can kind of see these that have Collectors Club only. That's why they're charging you the additional, because this is what this would be. So 500 max and then 25 per card. So that's why you would be getting that upcharge to match what they would be charging you if you just went through them anyway. But in terms of the submission process, there's a really good, and if you guys want me to stop talking about it, I can, but